That protects him too, because for him, this amount of money is not really, it's not part of a business. It's not really something that the ATO would expect him to be putting on his tax return.
G'day, Paul from Small Crown Productions here, and welcome to the Business of Art. On this channel, I dig into all of the things that we need to help us build a business around our creative work. So tips, tools, strategies, interviews, mindset, whatever I can do to help share knowledge from people who know what they're talking about so that we can do business better and make money from our creative work. So if that is something you are interested in, please consider subscribing. This video is one in a series of over 15 videos relating to tax and finance for creative people in Australia. So this is specific to Australia. It is also general advice. Always, always, always seek specific advice about your situation in your region or country where you are. What I did was ask my creative network for a question that they would love to ask a tax and finance specialist, and then I bundled them all up and took them to Matt Tucker, the principal of Creative Crunches here in Brisbane. Creative Crunches is an arts-focused accountancy firm. They know what they're talking about when it comes to Australian tax law, tax and finance for creative people. But again, general advice. Always seek specific advice to your situation. Matt was super generous to donate his time. I cannot thank him enough for taking the time out of his day to actually sit and answer these questions for us all. So with that, let's dive in to today's question. So what is a statement by supplier, and when should I supply one?
Statement by a supplier is an ATO-driven form. It's meant to protect a person who is being engaged by someone for money, where for this individual, what they're doing is just a private recreational pursuit. They're not sort of really doing it for monetary gain. It's not part of a business that they run. But for the business that's actually employing this person and engaging them, that they are a business. And the normal position for that business is that they would be usually employing other contractors, sole traders, and other people in business. And so it's a business-to-business type of transaction. And the business would usually say, can you please provide us with your invoice and we will pay you. And that freelancer is also in business with their own ABN, and they are able to provide that invoice with the ABN and they get paid. That's the normal thing. But if the business happens to be dealing with someone who, I don't know, you've just maybe got someone knows somebody, or, Robert, come in, I'll get you on this show. Probably won't work for much, but, it's a job, get in there, meet some people, and Robert comes in. But Robert is not yet in business. He doesn't have an ABN. He can't produce one. Maybe he's gone through those qualifications on the ABR and read through them and saying, look, I'm maybe not even entitled to one of these yet. So the business asks for one, but Robert can't really provide one. The statement by a supplier is the document that's designed to help both these parties. So it helps the business, and it says, if you can get Robert to sign one of these statement by suppliers, and there's different little versions of really the same thing, that says you can use this, if you're a private recreational pursuit, or if you're, it's not part of a business that you're running. There's a series of them, but they're all really aimed at the same thing, which is you're dealing with a hobbyist. Then Robert can sign this and tick that he's doing this as a hobbyist, and that's Robert's invoice. And Robert can give that to the business, and the business can say, right, there's your $100 today, Robert, that's great. And if the business is ever audited, then the tax office would naturally say, where's Robert's invoice? But they say, well, Robert doesn't have an ABN, he's not entitled to one, so we couldn't get that invoice, but here's the statement by a supplier that acts as, a piece of documentation. And for Robert, that protects him too, because for him, this amount of money is not really, it's not part of a business. It's not really something that the ATO would expect him to be putting on his tax return. So for him, it's just a bit of private dough. Right. Yeah. So, it is a tax deduction for the business because it's business, but it's not for Robert. So quite a valuable document. The main little thing I would just say there, some businesses like, this is great, we're just going to get people to be on statement by suppliers all the time. Now, businesses are under, I guess, a requirement that if they believe for any reason that statement of supplier is being issued by someone who should have an ABN, then they're not supposed to really accept that statement by a supplier.
Right.
Now, what is that? How does a business know? I mean, if it's a random person, they probably aren't going to have any idea what Robert's doing elsewhere. But if Robert's getting engaged week in, week out, doing more and more, they know Robert. It's very, it's pretty clear pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Thanks again to Matt Tucker from Creative Crunches for taking the time to answer these questions. If you have a tax and finance question of your own that you would like to ask, please pop it in the comments below and I will do everything I can to get that answered, or link you to one of the other videos where it may already have been asked and answered. Also in the description below is a link to the playlist that contains all of these tax and finance questions, so you can dig through there and see if your question has already been answered. And of course, it would be fantastic if you could like this video, subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, if you got something of value out of this, there is a good chance you will know somebody else who can as well. Please share it with them, tag them in the comments, whatever you've got to do, pay it forward so that we can keep helping each other out. Thanks very much. I'll see you on the next one.